Blog Talk Radio.
The purple angel, oh purple angel, you're next to me. Purple angel, oh purple angel, you're next to me. You're next to me. You're next to me.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host and founder of Alzheimer Speaks, Lori LeBay. And my journey that led me here is my mom had the disease for 30 years. And so I developed Alzheimer Speaks, which has kind of grown into this advocacy-based company providing multiple platforms to shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort around the world. I personally felt really isolated and didn't feel that there were tools to help me and my family learn how to live with this disease in a graceful fashion. And so that's really what we try to do, is to try to raise awareness and get people to have a conversation and share knowledge and insights that so we can help one another. There's so much that each of us has to offer others on this journey. So we really truly believe that by joining forces and sharing knowledge and just having these everyday conversations that we're going to have here on Alzheimer Speaks Radio, we can really help remove the fear and the stigmas that are attached to memory loss and help people live with purpose. At our core, I know we're making a difference because we were lucky enough to be recognized by Dr. Oz and ShareCare as the #1 influencer online for Alzheimer's disease. And that by no means was done on our own. Each and every one of you contributed to that factor. Just taking those few seconds to like us and click and share this with your Facebook family, your Google circle, your LinkedIn colleagues has made a big difference. You know, if you've got Twitter accounts and Pinterest, it doesn't make any difference. But just taking that time to share the knowledge with others allows people to enter the world and to gather information. You know, it's really scary to ask for information when you don't think people know and when you feel that there's a huge stigma attached. And the more we can talk about it, the more we can make people feel comfortable to tap into the resources that are there. So I just want to thank all of you for that. Today on the show, we're going to start out our first hour as open mic. And that means, you know, anybody and everyone is welcome to come and talk about dementia and caregiving. There really aren't any ground rules other than, you know, we always want to be respectful of one another. That's just highly important, I think, to all of us. And so people can call in to 714-364-4757. Again, that number is 714-364-4757. And I will pull you into the conversation as we go along here. You can also utilize the chat box. And today I put some links to some various articles that we just might want to discuss about reporting in general, and what is helpful and not so helpful to the cause, and how do people interpret things. And again, we can go any which way with these conversations, so don't let that by any means limit you. But before we get started with the conversation, I always like to give a shout-out to some of my favorite organizations. And the first one I want to mention is the Purple Angel Project, which Norms McNamara and Jane Moore started, that has gone international. And that's the new global symbol for dementia. We want that to be as well known as the pink ribbon for breast cancer. So if you're not familiar with that, you can go to our website, alzheimerspeaks.com, go to our About page, and we have some information on that. Individuals and as well as companies can use this, and it's free. So again, not going to cost you anything, but if you want to get behind the cause, let us know. We're in the process of reformatting some things to be a little bit more U.S. friendly because it's gotten so big they can't handle everything from the UK mode. So Alzheimer's Speaks is going to kind of be the hub for that. I also want to mention ADI, or Alzheimer's Disease International. Many people are looking for an association to tap into. The easiest way is just to go to the international site. There you can find the closest association to you. Plus, you'll find all kinds of great information on global works and what is happening from research to connections. There's also the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation, which takes more of a holistic approach. They do just some wonderful things. In fact, tonight they have a teleseminar coming up, and I would love to invite any of you to join that. It's called The Wisdom Journey, Discover the New Power of Elder Circles. And I'm actually going to be part of that and listen in. I always think that there's something that I can learn from what others do as well. And so Del Jones is going to be the speaker, and he's one of the founders of Elder Circle, and he's going to be talking about, what do you want in terms of leaving a legacy of your life's journey? Do you feel isolated and lonely? Do you feel far away from resources, or maybe you're homebound? It's all about connecting people. And so you can go to their website, again, Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation. And if that's too much to bite off, you can go to alzheimersspeaks.com, and at the very bottom of every page you will see a card there, basically a banner ad. Their website is alzheimersprevention.org, and I'll go ahead and just copy that and paste that into the chat box here in just a moment, and so that you can have that information, and you can register for that teleseminar if that's something of interest to you. Again, it's a free teleseminar, so you don't have to worry about any costs there, but I'm just dropping that into the box right now. Sure I am. If I can get access to it, I will. Well, we'll do that shortly whenever my computer decides to behave, I guess. I also want to mention the Lewy Body Dementia Association and the Frontal Temporal Lobe Association, as well as the National Aphasia Association. Each of these deals with specific symptoms of dementia, and it's important to be able to tap into what it is that you need, when you need it. So I would definitely encourage you to check those out. Music First with Choral Health has a great ability to allow people access to music. They kind of call it music prescriptions, to help people wake up and go to sleep and eat and shift moods, distract, create joy. And, go to Choral Health, and that's CORO Health, and check them out. They have an app, so it actually can be portable as well. And then Puzzle with Me, Jane Snyder's just done some great work in terms of adapting puzzles that work for people with dementia. Bigger sizes, more age appropriate, and they're nice and sturdy pieces as well. And then my friend James Creasy with Jiminy Wicket has developed a croquet game that can not only be intergenerational but educational. So it's a fantastic way to be able to work and interact with people with dementia, and to be able to create great joy, which really is what the journey is all about. The last little thing that I want to give a shout out for is, I don't know if people are aware of this, but this Saturday, the 26th, down in Marietta, Georgia, there's going to be an Alzheimer's Music Festival, and I'm actually going to be attending that. It's from noon to 10 p.m., and it's going to be held at the 120 Tavern. And if I'm not mistaken, they have over 30 bands that are going to be playing. So it'll be a lot of fun. They're asking for a $10 donation for the Alzheimer's Music Fest Foundation, which basically supports families who are giving care to somebody with dementia. So that's going to be an absolute blast, and if you're in the area and can make it, I would really encourage you to do so. We would absolutely love to see you. So let's go ahead and start with open mic. I'm going to introduce Michelle. Michelle Remald is one of our interns here. How are you doing, Michelle?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Well, good. Well, before we get started, in this process here, again, I've posted some articles that people have talked about the impact of them, and so if you are in the chat box and want to go ahead and click on those and take a peek at them, we'd love to talk about those if that's where our audience wants to go. If not, we don't have to. But in the meantime, we do have a caller live here, so let me go ahead and pull this caller in. I've got a caller from 919 number. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and
Hello,
tell
Lori.
us what you're calling about? Hi.
Hey,
And who
Lori.
do I have live? Who do I have live with me here?
This is Ron Gregory. How are you
hi,
today?
Ron. Good. Well,
You know,
I'm glad
I'm
you
with
called
all.
in.
Yeah. I just spent some time looking at your new website design and was just really happy to see the changes. And God, they're just so vibrant and just sparkles. So I wanted to take a moment and call in. And you've had me as a guest once before from Alzheimer's Music Connect, and it's always good to reach out to our friends in this arena. That's for sure.
Do you want to tell people, Ron, a little bit, for those that aren't familiar with your company, a little bit about what you do and
Sure.
how you might be able to help those dealing with dementia and caregiving?
Sure. Basically, Alzheimer's Music Connect creates therapeutic music products to calm and relax Alzheimer's sufferers. And the additional benefit of not only do you have the person who is affected with the disease become more calm, and in many ways we've found that they kind of reconnect through old memories and become more conversant with their caregiver. But the side effect of all of this is that the caregiver, we found, has gotten a tremendous amount of downtime and some relaxation for themselves. So, it's been proven in field testing, and we've done EEG testing, and we can see how it actually alters the brain pattern and the way the music's absorbed. And it's just a very exciting combination, if you will, of science paired with the right kind of music, and it ends up with a very joyful kind of connection from patient to caregiver. It's very exciting stuff to see take place, and we've got a new venture that's about to be launched. It's a sing-along record, and it's Memories in Song, and it's accompanied by a very, very strong DVD, which is hosted by Teepa Snow of A Positive Approach, and which she really gives people a very hands-on, direct way to understand the importance of music and how to apply it. And we're very, very excited. The project should be available for consumption probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So it's all good. We're very excited, and we're very excited to be part of Alzheimer's Speaks world.
Well, wonderful. Well, I appreciate you so much coming in. Now, you're going to be down for the Alzheimer's Music Fest as well, so I'll get to see you down there. So that'll be a lot of fun.
To it.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
well,
Lori.
I appreciate you calling in today. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Alzheimer's Music Connect, you might want to go ahead and check them out. Do you want to go ahead and give your URL, Ron?
Sure. It's Alzheimer'sMusicConnect.com, all one word, and I think that the website is fairly easy to navigate, and there's a lot of information that will get into the science behind it and what kind of music is used, and it's very informative, and I think people will get something from it, whether they end up a customer of mine or not. They'll understand that music plays a crucial role in keeping their loved one kind of connected and in the moment, if you will. So I want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk, and I'll just listen to the rest of the show as an innocent bystander.
Okay, well, thanks for calling in, Ron. You had a little shout-out here in the chat box from Pam Ben-Ah, who is part of the Alzheimer's Music Festival down there, too. So she's just a great resource, and has a company and an organization as well that is supporting this, called Caring Together in Hope. And so it's wonderful that she's doing that type of work. I do want to let people know, for whatever reason, I'm not able to go in and use my chat box, so I apologize. So the trials and tribulation of good old technology today. But I can read all of your stuff. I'm just not going to be able to type back. So anyways, well, let's see who else we have on the line here. It looks like this might be Harry. Is this Harry Urban? Harry, are you on the line?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You testing out those new headsets, are you?
Yeah, I am worried. Not too well, but I'm doing that. I didn't press one, I don't think, but I always have something to say, and I just love the concept of music and somebody with dementia, because it is so soothing, it's so relaxing, so calming, and it's great that we're able to tap into that.
Mm-hmm. Well, good. I'm going to go ahead and pull Michelle into the conversation here too. And Michelle, are you there?
I am.
Okay. Well, I thought what we do is in the chat box, I did put some URLs to some articles that were recently done, and a couple of them have really had a lot of conversation going. And I'm not sure if everyone was aware of these articles or not, but I think it's important for us to discuss. A couple of them, and again, once an article is written, several people pick them up and they kind of go all over the place. And so there was an article that talked about the rate of Alzheimer's disease is declining in the U.S. And, it was on a lot of the major forums, out there. I won't go into great detail, but just even the title alone. Harry, what do you think a title like that makes people think when it says Alzheimer's disease is declining? Do you think that hurts the efforts out there?
Oh my goodness, Lori, that had the hairs in the back of my neck standing up. Not that now, if it was true, I would be delighted, but I know it's not true, and it's so misleading and it really takes away from what we are trying to do. Now, what was interesting about that is in our newspaper, in the inside newspaper down in the corner, a little article said that there was a rebuttal on that article.
Uh-huh.
That they found out that the statistics they were using was flawed.
Uh-huh.
But the damage is done. I mean, it made it to the front page, and a topic like that, a comment like that, and it makes people wonder, why are we doing what we're doing if the numbers are going down?
Yeah.
And I try to say that maybe the numbers are going down because the different forms of dementia is finally being recognized, and everybody's just not diagnosed with Alzheimer's. That could be a reason. I don't know. But
I totally agree with you on that. I mean, because you're seeing more diagnosis of Lewy body, vascular dementia. You have early onset, mild cognitive impairment. I mean, there's so many levels of it now, and it's kind of like it reminds me in some ways with Alzheimer's disease. You know, they were trying to get people to upon death, you know, say that the primary cause was Alzheimer's disease. And usually Alzheimer's isn't the primary cause of death, and so they couldn't really track it. And so it's really a very, very interesting process. So like on my mom's death certificate, you know, it said Alzheimer's. Well, Alzheimer's wasn't what took her out. The pneumonia was. But it's just this game in terms of how numbers are played, and it's really sad. But I know that there were so many people upset, you know, with that article when it came out, and the magnitude of press that it got. Because people are working so hard, you know, you, myself, so many others, Michelle, our listeners, you know, everyone out there is working hard to help bring resources to the table, and it's so underfunded as it is. And you know, I think most of us are afraid that it's going to feed that underfunding even more. Is that kind of your thought, Harry?
Absolutely, because I know for a fact that there's quite a people sitting on the fence about donating to different researches or things like that, and then all of a sudden they see an article like that saying that the numbers are going down, and and they're saying that why should we donate if the numbers are going down? And that's not true. You know, we are never going to find a cure. It's going to take money to do that. It's going to take lots of money to do that. And an article like that just kind of digs a big hole for us.
Yeah. Michelle, do you have any thoughts on that, you know, on the particular type of article that says the numbers are going down for Alzheimer's? Any thoughts from you?
I honestly laughed when I read the title. I didn't take it very seriously reading it after that point. But I agree with Harry. I think if it is decreasing at all, I think it would be more or less the fact that the various types of dementia are being diagnosed correctly and they're not just being put into one category. So if that is the case, then I think they need to look at across the board if, you know, the numbers of all dementias are going up or if they think those are declining as well.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of people that, you know, when they're in the trenches that they know better and they not to believe that, but there's so many that aren't in the trenches, and you know, and it's you know, it's a snazzy little title, you know. To grab attention there. The other one that recently came out talked about a study, and it said cynicism linked to greater dementia risk, says a study. Harry, did you read any of those articles or run across any of those?
I'm still laughing. You know, It's funny though, when you're diagnosed with dementia, there's a certain amount of sadness and cynicism and everything else that goes along with it, and depression. So you know, of course, until you come face to face with your disease and can handle it, you're going to be depressed. You're going to be cynical about it and everything else, and about the studies, and you know, it always comes back to why me, you know, and I don't know, I just have a hard time. In fact, I used to read all those articles, and I'm finding out that I'm just skipping over them, and I don't want to do that because the day's going to come when something is found, and I don't want to miss it.
Yeah. Yeah, the one on the cynicism I know raised a lot of hairs on people's back. I had reposted something that I saw from an article because I don't do a lot on research. I really don't go down that path because I'm more about how to live with the disease. But I think I posted it wanting to get a conversation going, and I made an error in doing that, in not making a comment saying I'm looking for responses to this, because I think some people thought that I endorsed it, and I definitely don't at all. I do think that it's important to try to keep a positive attitude in life, period, no matter what path you're taking. And I know that the article did say that it affected increased the potential of other health risks as well. But it's tough because people with dementia that contacted me were so upset and felt so offended that people would think that of them, and rightfully so. So I think it's important when people are titling things that they're careful of that. And I know that I personally am going to be more conscious of passing on information and what my intent is, because I was busy and I wasn't as clear as I should have been on that. We've got a couple of comments here in the chat box. One is a little bit off topic, but I'm just going to go ahead and pull it in so I can kind of keep up. Again, I'm going to remind people, for whatever reason, I'm frozen out of the chat box, so I won't be able to respond back to you. But let's see. Elva had noted that she had heard our friend Michael Ellenbogen and his wife Sherry they're at the Advisory Council on Alzheimer's Research, Care, and Services, and I think he's out there for like 3 days. I thought he said that was part of NAPA, and so I'm glad that you heard him. Michael's a great voice and a great advocate for services. Terry is saying, I think people like to create parameters, pointers, or markers identifying risk factors that allow them to say, oh, that won't be me. And that's a very, very good point. I think that's a really good point, Terry. She also is saying, one caveat, though, is that a headline or a healthier brains are definitely associated with more active and engaged people. Engagement and activity are so crucial. So are cynical people less likely to have healthy social connections and activities? That's a really interesting conversation, and chances are they're probably going to be more withdrawn, or they're going to be interacting at a different level and not probably tapping into the joys. And I'm a huge, if to me that is the number one most important thing, and some may say that I'm wrong, but I think over diet, exercise, everything else, I personally believe, just from my own experience with my mom, that it is that social connection, that healthy social connection that allowed her to live and feel purposeful. Terry also says it's also important, instead of, throwing information back out there, to retain the open scientist mind that asks, well, that could or might be this connection, how and why might this be accurate? Are there pieces that we're missing? And, with research, whoever would have thought they would research peanut butter, as a means in sniffing it. And so a lot of times we don't know all of the details without getting into the journals of what made them even go down that path, to begin with, on that. It's just a very, very interesting process, to say the least, with things. So I appreciate people communicating in the chat box, and again, feel free to call in. That number is 714-364-4757. Harry, do you have any thoughts in terms of some of Terry's points? I think we've got either a squeaky door or a squeaky chair someplace between one of us there. I'm not sure. I don't think it's me, but I feel like there's an old porch door that keeps swinging open. That's what it sounds like. Anybody else hearing that, or is it just me?
No, I do.
You do too? Carrie, are you hearing that?
Nope.
Okay.
I got new headphones.
You got new headphones, huh? Okay. Well,
yeah.
I'm not sure what that is.
So don't blame it. So don't blame it on me.
Okay. Well, I won't blame it on you. It makes me chuckle every time I hear it. I picture a porch door and a cat going out. I don't know why, but it's kind of funny. Elva is saying, "Ha ha, we hear the porch door too." So, it's kind of interesting there. Harry, what do you think about articles like this article on cynicism and stuff and social interaction? What are your thoughts or connections between the two? Do you feel there is a connection?
Did you say Harry or Terry?
Oh, I'm sorry, Harry.
Harry. Okay, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there is a connection, Lloyd. Now, we being people living with this disease, we get such a bad rap of being cynical and things like that, and nobody's thinking, why are we cynical? What is creating the mood that we have to be cynical? And what people fail to realize is we mimic our caregivers. If our caregivers is happy, smiling, have a good sense of humor, things like that, we're going to mimic that. If our caregiver is cynical, we're going to mimic that. Now, the thing of it is our caregiver can be cynical for a short amount of time, but when we start mimicking somebody, we don't change. We are always that way. We don't, well, no, I shouldn't say we, I should say me. I don't have the ability of changing my emotions at a flip of a coin. If I'm around somebody cynical, I can be that way the whole day. If I'm around somebody that's happy, laughing, then of course I'm going to be the same way. So I'm not sure. Maybe they should do a study on that.
Mhm. Well, that's a really interesting piece because where does that come from? Because we all know who are in the trenches with dementia. We as care partners have a huge impact on your mood. What we bring to the table, and we do with anybody. If it's our child or our spouse, and we come in a good mood, chances are we're going to be able to lift them up. If we're in a crabby mood, we're probably going to bring them right down with us and get them irritated too. And that doesn't change. With dementia, and so that's a very good point. That's a very good point because care partners carry. Can feel like they're carrying the world on their shoulder and can feel a lot of stress at times, just as someone with dementia.
The environment can change things so much too. Just the color of the room, the lighting of the room, the sounds, the noise, the music, the whatever. So many things can contribute to that we don't think about. It's a strange thing. Well, this room's been painted this color for 10 years. Why would it bother me? Well, maybe it bothered me for 10 years and nobody knew it.
Mhm. Very true. Very true. Michelle, anything you want to add?
I don't know. I guess when I read them, I read it more as a personality trait than looking at just people with dementia. So I was thinking about people I know who I think have more cynical personalities to begin with. And it makes sense to me, if you have higher stress hormone levels, that it could play could play a part. And then I actually took the cynical quiz thing at the end of one of them to find out how critical I am, though I generally like to think I'm happy. But I don't know. I think looking at it from that standpoint, it made a lot of sense to me. But looking at it from the standpoint of someone who would have dementia, I could see where it would be more offensive.
Yep. Now, this is interesting. Pam notes, in her opinion, she says there's a cynical manipulation of public opinion regarding dementia sometimes. I like that phrase because I think that that's really true. You know, there's a lot of manipulation for a lot of different reasons out there. Terry notes that it's important to expose and encourage all brain cell firing and new learning that can simulate new connections. And so it's possible for an Alzheimer's patient too, and a lot of times we tend to believe that isn't accurate and that cells are just dying, but it is possible to rebuild and do different things. Terry also says, I think dementia is like cocaine. It's just brought out more of who, what you already are. She's got in here. So I don't know on that particular one, but you know, it's an interesting process. But I think it's something that we all have to take into account very seriously. You know, how are we coming off? How are things being interpreted? Is it just to grab attention, or is it really to make a difference and get people thinking? And sometimes to make a difference and get people thinking, you know, might be a little bit more boring or routine, you know, than big results and lots of hits and, you know, on a website or an article or ratings on TV or radio, whatever it might be. And you know, what really matters, you know, when it comes down to it. I thought I would mention, you know, another resource for people, and I don't know if everyone is familiar with LEAD, but LEAD is an organization. The LEAD Coalition was a coalition that was put together and has done some really cool things, and they've got some great resources. And for those of you that aren't familiar with it, and again, I can't type this in because it won't let me do it, but it's www.lead, L-E-A-D, coalition, and that's I'm sorry, I'm spelling it right. COALITION, and it stands for Leaders Engaged on Alzheimer's Disease. And you can actually sign up for their newsletter, I believe. I get it, and I just received it from them, and they've got some cool things that they're talking about. They're talking about the Global Dementia Plan accelerates globally. They have some upcoming events that include some webinars and teleconferences. They are also asking people to take some action to help support accelerate the Biomed Research Act. They've partnered with the Hospice Foundation of America for Dementia Education, which is great. And I'm just going to highlight a couple of these things here that have kind of caught my eye. Let's see, Bright Focus Foundation awards Alzheimer's disease grants. Where was it here? There's a new fact sheet out to explore how smoking could increase dementia. I had not read that one yet. There's talk about the Clergy Against Alzheimer's, which is part of Us Against Alzheimer's Act. And let's see, creating more research, shots on goal through innovative finance. They're trying to pull some things together. let's see, there was something I wanted to tell you in here, and of course now I can't find it. Well, I'll look through it again. But Harry, do you have some special resources that you like? I know maybe even talking a little bit about what's going on with Dementia Mentors, tell people what that's about. And because that's fairly new as of June 1st and is really making a very, very big impact. So why don't you update people with what's going on there?
Oh, I am so happy. I'm glad you brought it up, Roy. Thank you. I'm so happy with the progress we're making with this website. We now are getting responses from 23 different countries, and the word is getting out. And people are starting to understand what we're saying, and it's only going to grow. I don't care what they say about the numbers going down. I know they're not going down. All you have to do is be involved in dementia awareness, and the numbers are not going down. Something I wanted to bring up that really bothers me is whenever I'm out speaking or anything like that, or through Dementia Mentors, we try to motivate people and stimulate people that have dementia. That just because you were diagnosed with this disease, your life's not over. And every talk I'm at, or every time I'm speaking to somebody, they say, well, Harry, you're one of the lucky ones. Your dementia's not bad. My loved one can't do that. And I get so upset with that, because that may be true. That may be true, but how do you know they can't do it?
Mm-hmm.
We need motivated, we need stimulated, we need direction, but just because, I use the example with me. I love woodworking. I've done woodworking all my life. Well, through my dementia, I can no longer use power tools and things like that because it's a safety issue. So by rights, people would say, well, Harry, you can no longer do that because you're not capable of doing it. Well, I'm setting out to prove the point that I can do it. And I can do it safely, and I can turn out some beautiful things. And what I've been doing is I've been doing some woodworking projects and posting pictures, and it's woodworking projects I can do safely. I can handle it. Of course, it's not going to be the big elaborate things I used to make, but people always say, Harry, that's beautiful. Now, me having the disease, I hear that, Harry, you can still do things in life. It's still possible for you to do it. But 9 times out of 10, the projects I do, almost anybody can do with the guidance and help to do it. That's the key. You have to keep it safe. But what I want to prove to people that even though you think we can't do it, we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what a lot of Dementia Mentors is all about. We're trying to get people on the right path, and we're trying to get the message out. Don't go from diagnosis to late stage or one big giant step, because you're going to miss out on so much in life. You have so much to live for, and don't tell me you can't do it unless you prove that you can't do it. Get that thought out of your head that I can't do something. You can still dream, you can still follow your dreams. Now, they may not be big, they might be small compared to somebody else's dream, but to you, they're huge. Follow those dreams, follow those things you want to do, and don't ever give up.
I think that's that's really good advice, Harry. Now I know you guys are doing like virtual memory cafes there as well too for people to be able to connect. Is that correct? I thought I saw something where you've expanded to I think 3 now already.
Yeah, absolutely. My dream is, Roy, to have virtual memory cafes running 24/7. Mm-hmm. That no matter where you're at, what time zone you're in, it's not just for the United States, not for just the Eastern time zone, things like that. It's for everybody. So we're trying to set up memory cafes in various time zones. It might be 2:00 in the morning, but it might be 10:00 in the morning someplace else. Who knows? They can still have a memory cafe. One other thing I want to point out that there's a comment saying that is it true that you have to have a diagnosis of dementia to participate in Dementia Mentors? Heavens, no. On Dementia Mentors, we have a video section that all the videos are done by someone living with this disease. Okay, and we give our perception of things, and it's a great resource for care partners and everybody else to better understand why we do the things we do. So Dementia Mentors is for everybody. Everybody can learn.
Well, that's wonderful. Now there's a question right now from Elva. She's saying, people without dementia, can they participate in the Dementia Mentors, or is it just for people with dementia?
Well, as far as becoming a Dementia Mentor, we are trying to keep that strictly for people that have the disease. In other words, I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and if somebody else is diagnosed with Alzheimer's, at times it's better for us to mentor them because we live this disease. Mm-hmm. Somebody else might live the perception of what we are going through, but that's not the case. It is, and like Lewy bodies, if somebody comes on and requests a mentor to talk to somebody, we don't have anybody to talk to. That's why we set this whole site up. You can go to your doctor, and your visits are limited. You may not get the answers you want. You may not know the question to ask. But if you sit down with somebody with this disease, your question always comes up and it always gets answered. Now, we can't give out medical advice. We can't give out legal advice or financial advice or anything like that because we're just not qualified to do it. But we can tell you what it's like living with this disease and how we handle it.
Okay. So bottom line, to answer Elva's question is the Dementia Mentors, there are videos, if I'm not mistaken, that anybody can watch, but the actual conversations and the mentorship is for people who are actually diagnosed with dementia.
Yeah, we would like to expand that, Lori. We have to take baby steps on this, but we would like to expand that for care partners to have a care partner mentor program set up.
Cool.
That's something that's what we're talking about, and it's going to happen, but it may not happen right away because this thing is growing so fast that we have to keep it under control. But we have an activity page that has games on it, and we have games on there just to exercise your mind. Mm-hmm. Well, anybody can play those games. I mean, anybody's welcome to go on there and play the games, the word search, the crossword, whatever that's on there, because exercising your brain is a good prevention for this disease. And
sure,
the resource, we have a resource page on there, and it's great. It's a great source of information for care partners to get information. You know, so it as far as the mentor program itself, being mentored or becoming a mentor, yes, I have to say that you have to be living with this disease to become part of that. But to become an active partner in the website, heavens no. Anybody, it's a great site for advocates to get information.
Yep. I'd say it's a wonderful site for people to get information. That's for sure. So I appreciate the clarification on that. Michelle, have you visited the Dementia Mentors website at all?
I haven't yet, but I expect to talk about it. I probably will tonight.
Shame on you.
Shame her into it. Yeah. Too funny. Yeah. Well, and that would be a great resource for your memory cafe too that you opened up in Northfield. You know, that would be a wonderful resource for them. We've got, let's see, some comments. Elva had said that to her it makes a lot of sense that somebody living with the same disease would be really the best to understand and to work with somebody else, which to me it makes a ton of sense too. And I'm kind of chuckling to myself when you had said that you were, you know, contemplating maybe doing a caregiver mentorship, and I thought, oh, the caregiver coaches are going to go crazy because how are they going to make money? You know, with that, because you know that's what they want their job to be. So, but again, there's a lot of things a coach can offer on a formal basis that this probably couldn't offer as well. So it just all depends on what the needs are and how it's progressing with that too. I did want to mention too, because I think that this is important. They are now taking nominations for Dementia Care Professional of the Year, and this is through, I want to say it's the Alzheimer's Foundation of America. So if you know of somebody that you want to go ahead and submit, I don't know what all it entails in terms of application there, but the nominations are open, it looks like, until September 1st for that. And you can go to careprofessionals.org/D as in dog, C as in cat, P as in parrot of the year award. That's careprofessionals.org/DCP of the year award. If there's someone that you want to nominate, and I don't know if they have to be. I don't know what all the criteria is on that. I didn't look at it that deeply. I'm going to post it on my blog as well, so that will be there for people if they want more information. Alva has noted in the chat box here that Dr. Whitehouse draws a distinction between disease and condition, and he makes a case that dementia is a condition like pregnancy is a condition. If you call it a disease, then a cure is sought, and he said there is no cure, which is true at this point. There is no cure. It sure would be nice. No pharmaceutical cure. I think a lot of people are coming together kind of on that community base and looking at things a little bit differently. I don't know if people had seen the videos that I had posted that Kathy Greenblatt did, but she's just a phenomenal sociologist and photographer. And there are 3 different videos that are great for training as well as just for family discussions for people who, are diagnosed or dealing with this. And then there's also a white paper that's on the blog. And again, you can get to that just by going to alzheimersspeaks.com. And then over to the right, there's kind of a scrolling thing that has our blogs. Just click on any of those. That'll bring you to the blog. And you can use the search word, either put in Kathy or videos. It'll come up. But just wonderful training films. This last one that I just posted, actually 2 of them are on the front page of the website as well. The blog just gives a little bit more detail. But this last one is called It Takes a Community, which is, a lot of what we've been talking about today, the importance of community and being together. And very, very important stuff there in terms of how we interact. Terry is noting, no, there is a distinction between Alzheimer's damage and normal, even accelerated aging. There are some researchers that are looking into neuro-Lyme as one of the contributing components. Pam says, and we all need to look at all cognitive impairment, meaning not just age-related, as in AD, which I think is important as well on that. So if anybody wants to call in, we'd love to hear from you. The number is 714-364-4757. Again, that's 714-364-4757. If you have a topic that you would like to talk about, we would absolutely love to hear from you. So feel free to call into the line. Michelle, is there anything that you wanted to bring up? We're going to be having our first guest rolling in here pretty soon.
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Harry, how about you?
No, not really, Roy, but I love your open mic sessions because it gives everybody a chance to bring up current events, okay, things that they heard and things like that, and that's so important. And my hat goes off to you.
Oh, well, good. Well, thank you. I just think it's important to hear everyone's voice, and the good, the bad, the ugly. We got to talk about it all, and just keep things open and honest. And we can't make things better if we don't have an honest conversation with people. And so it's very, very critical that we go ahead and keep the lines of communication open. And respectful. I hope that I do that for people. That is one of my major goals, needless to say, with the work that I choose to do. I think it's very, very important to not get offended and just see where people are at, with things. So thank you for stating that. It's nice to know that we're on the same page when it comes to that. So great. It looks like we've got somebody on the line here, so let me go ahead and pull them in. We've got somebody from an 817 number. You're live and on the air. Can you state your name, please?
Hi, Lori. It's Elva Roy in Arlington, Texas.
Oh, hi, Elva.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. I love your show. I look forward to Tuesdays because I always learn something and that I didn't know before. I wanted to just comment that unhappily this week is when my one remaining aunt who's living will have to put her husband in a facility. She's placing him this week, and they celebrated their 66th wedding anniversary on June the 6th, which was also her birthday. And she said that he had no idea what an anniversary was. He couldn't identify anybody in the picture, the groom that was him or her or whatever. And now he's becoming somewhat aggressive. And so she's having to place him, and she's dreading it after being married for 66 years. And so hard to give up the caregiving role. And unfortunately, her daughter-in-law, my aunt's daughter-in-law, so married to my cousin, she also has early onset dementia, and she was diagnosed in 2004, and then again in 2008 and again in 2009 by the Mayo Clinic. And now she's forgotten how to write her name. She's 63 years old now, but she's been having these problems, I guess, for 10 years or so. And so she can't write her name. She can no longer read. But my cousin emailed me last night and said that she is still the sweetest person in the world, and so he's able to, to take care of her. But anyway, it's just heartbreaking. My mother died of Alzheimer's, or, of course, I've learned from reading Dr. Peter Whitehouse's book. I say she died of Alzheimer's, but it's impossible to really diagnose Alzheimer's even at autopsy. And she didn't have an autopsy. But Dr. Whitehouse, has worked in this field for all these years, including being a pathologist and everything else. He said that even a pathologist at autopsy cannot diagnose Alzheimer's for sure. He has to ask the primary care physician if there was dementia involved before he can say whether there was Alzheimer's. So that was news to me until I read Dr. Whitehouse's book. And I'm just learning more and more every day. The new book I'm reading now is called White Coat, Black Hat, and it's written by a bioethicist at the University of Minnesota. Your way, right?
Yeah,
Where are
yeah.
you?
I'm in Minnesota. Yeah.
Yeah. His name is Carl Elliott, and it's not a brand new book. I think the copyright was 2010, but it was just eye-opening about clinical trials and how those are done and how, everybody's in cahoots. It's really an eye-opener. So when you talk about cynicism, I mean, you really need to understand some of the reality that goes on in the medical field, to have a realistic expectation of what's happening, and cynicism, I don't see how you can keep from being cynical if you are knowledgeable. So I don't want to be cynical. I don't enjoy being cynical, but I am cynical. I am a skeptic now. I question everything. Well, and in the old days, 20 years ago, we just believed anything our doctor told us. They said this and take this and do this and blah, blah, and we just did it. And now I question everything a medical doctor might tell me.
Yep. Yeah.
So.
And I think it's good. You need to be your own patient advocate, but it is a huge, huge shift in terms of how, how we care for ourselves and where we get our information and our resources. And a lot of times, the doctors always hate it when we come in with our pile of paper because we've Googled something. But yet it's amazing how much information they're not aware of because the information's coming so fast and furious. And so, yeah.
And just this bioethicist, Carl Elliott, he talks about Philadelphia being a hotbed for clinical trials because there's 4 medical schools up there. But he talks about how they call them guinea piggers. People migrate, they relocate the homeless people, and they make a living by doing clinical trials because some of the subjects are paid like $7,500 to participate in a clinical trial, and they go from this one to the next one to the next one to the next one, and they are injected with all these things, or these processes and procedures are done to them. So are they the best, representative of how that medication is going to affect a normal person? And he said that 20 years ago, almost all clinical trials were run by academia in a university laboratory, and now only 37% of clinical trials are done in a academic laboratory, and the rest are outsourced to commercial labs, which are paid to get subjects quick, get them in, you enroll them, blah, blah, pay them, we don't care what it costs. Get this medication approved by the FDA at the earliest possible time, and it's really just disheartening to see what the state of our healthcare system is in right now.
Very, very much so. Well, I appreciate you calling in, Alva. I need to get to our guest, but I appreciate your call in, and I wish your family the best with that placement. That's always hard. It's always hard to move on to the next step, but knowing that it's the best possible place, for services, and hopefully it will allow her to get back to the core of their relationship and not just having to care. So thank you so much.
The interesting thing is that you would never, ever see anybody who lived a healthier lifestyle than those two. She was a home ec teacher for years. She always cooked right. They've never been a pound overweight. They hike, they walk, they're engaged, everything that, you could imagine. So there's just no guarantees. So I'll let you go now. Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye now.
Bye.
Michelle, I know that you need to get running as well. Is there any last comments that you would like to share?
Nope, but I appreciate you having me on, like always.
Okay. Well, you have a great day, and say hello to everybody at your Memory Cafe for me, okay?
Yep, I will do that.
Okay, thank you. And Harry, I'm going to go ahead and kind of do our mid-program highlights and then introduce our next guest. But before I do that, is there any last comment that you'd like to make for open mic?
No, I don't want to use everything up today, Roy. I'm going to save some.
Okay.
We have a chat coming up at 3.
Yep, we do. We have our Dementia Chats at 3. I'm going to go ahead and put you on hold and then do the mid-program highlights so that I can pull in our guest. For those of you that aren't familiar with Alzheimer's Speaks, we have a variety of platforms, and so we have the radio show here. Our last show was with Mara Botanis, and she wrote a great book called When Caring Takes Courage. Now, all of our programs are recorded, so you can go ahead and hear them at any time. And she has some great tools, a biographical tool. She has one about signs and symptoms of dementia, information on wandering, how to take a health history, and so much more. Our next program is going to be with Gary Glazner, which I'm really excited to have him back. And he's a poet, and he has a great poetry project that he'll be talking about, plus his book that he has coming out. As Harry mentioned, we've got the Dementia Chats coming up this afternoon. That'll be 3 p.m. This afternoon, and that's free. You can go to the blog and get the connection there, or you can go to our website, go to the About page, and find that link on the About page. again, those are free. Our last one was on July 8th, and it was a fascinating discussion on noise and how it affects somebody with dementia. And in addition to our experts living with dementia, we had Steve Orfield, who's from Orfield Laboratories, joining us on that topic and that discussion. It was quite fascinating. I was fascinated. On the blog, some great articles. Michelle wrote one called More Than Just a Gesture. And as usual, her blogs always get some nice comments on them, just getting us to think a little bit different. Then there was the training films I talked about from Kathy Greenblatt and her team. That I just think hit another home run. And then Margaret Manning over in Switzerland had interviewed me. She's got a great blog called 60 and Me, and she did a series with me on Alzheimer's. This last one I posted was titled Afraid of Alzheimer's Disease, Here's Some Things You Can Do About It. And we just discussed about the realities of what you can do. And then the other one that I wanted to note was, again, the wisdom journey, discovering the new power of elder circles. That's that free seminar through the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation that you can still join, and that's tonight. Starts at 5 p.m. Pacific time, or be 8 o'clock Eastern time. So, and let's see, what was the last thing I wanted to announce was, again, the Alzheimer's Music Fest. We'd absolutely love to have you join us down in Georgia, Marietta, Georgia, at the 120 Tavern this Saturday, the 26th from 12 to 10 p.m. It's going to be a really fun time. It's a family-friendly event. It's hopefully you'll be able to pay a $10 donation at the door. Those funds will go to the Alzheimer's Music Fest organization, which is all about helping families maneuver through care. So let me go ahead and introduce our guest for the second half of the show. Stephen Hoag was really compelled by his unconditional love for his mother, and as a son, he chronicles his tender yet dramatic and humorous events that are part of the journey of caring for a parent with Alzheimer's. His book, again, is called A Son's Handbook, and it explores his 10-year journey as he cared for his mother with Alzheimer's disease. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull Stephen in right now, and we're just going to go ahead and start our conversation.
Lori?
How are you doing there today, Stephen?
I'm wonderful. It's a delight to be with you.
Well, good. I'm glad you were able to make it on the show today. We were having our open mic conversation a little bit earlier here, but I'm looking forward to discussing your book for a couple of different reasons. One is so many times people think that caregiving or being a care partner is a kind of a woman's job, and that not many guys do this or understand this. And you've written a beautiful book that kind of dispels that myth and says, I get this. Understand the journey. So can you tell us, why you chose the title of the book and what made you decide to even create it and go down that path? Because writing a book takes a lot of energy.
It's an interesting question, and it wasn't one that I started out thinking, this is a title. In fact, as I might have mentioned to you, I had no intention of writing a book about this subject. What occurred was that, as a rather pragmatic man, feeling that I can reason everything out, that I can rationalize this. It's a lot. Everything's got a logical beginning and end. When the all of a sudden moment that I think you and all of your listeners went through, when you suddenly have someone that you care about, you love, and you're now it's kind of in your grill. You got to take care of the situation. And when when I started to take care of Mom, and I'm giving you the short end of it, and as far as an explanation, there were so many instances, moments that came rather quickly, rather rapid fire, and none of my past experience, none of the any kind of the expertise that I had in anything in life prepared me for this. And the title came about because I literally shouted out many times, "This is not in the Son's Handbook." Whether it was bathing my mom or it was the hallucinations, the machinations, the trips to places that all of a sudden I'm someplace else with her. It was never any kind of plan. It just happened. All of the agencies and the professionals, the doctors, the people that I talked with over the course of the first few years, none of them prepared me, could give me any kind of. They gave me a lot of love, and I appreciate all of the patience that they showed me, but none of them could give me any answers. And in fact, most of the professionals out there suggested that Mom should be in a home and not mine. So, but it took me a long while that when it comes down to taking care of Mom, I had to leave my logic at the door, just leave that outside and deal with it a whole different way. And, but it was really because of my family members who literally heard me yell, "It's not in the Son's Handbook," because during the course of those 10 years, another thing no one prepared me for that. So that's kind of how the title happened.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense because there are no handbooks out there for this. There's a lot of people trying, to give us kind of cheat sheets and insights and stuff. Yeah. But, when it comes to parenting or being a child or parenting an adult, a loved one, I mean, it's just not out there because we're also individual with this. One of the things that hit me most about your book was it seemed like you really decided to lead by love. Would you say that that's an accurate statement? When I got into it and started to understand that there was no shortcut here, and that we weren't going to find an easy way once I said, okay, now she's mine. And I'm going to take care of her, and I'm not going to put her in a home. I just won't do it. And I know it was stubborn, and I know it was a lot of things, but there was only one way to get through every day, and that's to lead with love. And it's that love was the essence of the best of us. It's the best of us, and so things that flew in the face of common decency, respect, with just regular life routine, there was only one way to deal with it and to end each day with, as I often say, want to start each day in victory and end each day victorious. I wanted to feel like we learned something every day. I didn't know how long all this was going to last. I wanted it to last forever, and like a lot of your listeners, and I'm sure you do, once you get into caring for someone with Alzheimer's and dementia, you're always got that little smidge of denial saying, okay, she's getting better, or everything's going to be fine. But, the love part of it was that no matter what happened, and there's certainly all of your listeners, and I'm sure that everyone who's ever had to deal with this, it pulls at everything that we are. And so the only way to serve that person and to give him our best is to lead with love. And I think, not that I was ever perfect about it, none of us were, but I think that that's what pulled us through. And I think that, Mom would have liked to know that that's really what we pulled out of all of it, that we lead with our love. And if we do that, we're always going to find an answer to what problems we face. Well, that's interesting. Alva is saying that she's always heard the best long-term insurance a person can have is to have a daughter. She says, I have 3 sons. The eldest one is 45 years old. But she says, I don't ever expect them to provide care for me. They love me, she says, but it's just asking too much for them and their wives to care for me. She said for her, she'll find a different path. She's not sure what. And, maybe she'll move and hire some help. But, in every family situation is different dynamics and philosophies in life. And there is no right or wrong. I think everyone has to do what they have to do. On my journey, I always thought my mom would come and live with us, once my dad passed. And then that changed, and she ended up moving into a home and wanting to move into a nursing home because my dad was there. And that was kind of tough to swallow, but yet it was a gift in its own right. So I think everybody has to find their own path and kind of analyze their own dynamics. But I find it intriguing that you and I'm thankful that you wrote the book, because I think we need to hear more of the men's perspective. I think there are more men kind of stepping up to the plate and playing this role, and they're not getting acknowledged because there's more women doing it than men, and I think it's very important that there's grandkids taken care of their grandparents. There's nieces and nephews. It's everybody. It really does take a community. Now, one of the things that I wanted to ask you, and I find this to be an interesting question, is who do you think suffers the most? The person with dementia, or those caring for them, or those watching along the sidelines?
Oh, that's a great question, Lori. And in the presentation speeches that I've made since the book came out, and again, I've been speaking all my life, with my profession, also what Mom trained me to do back when I was a little kid, which is another issue. But one of the things that I often get to in the early parts of my presentations and speeches to groups and organizations is that when, we look at our loved one who's going through all this, and we suffer in our love for them, we feel that they must be suffering. What I learned and again, what it took me a long while to figure it out, is wherever Mom was, wherever she was pretty happy. There was no tears here when she was hallucinating and having a little discussion with her late sisters or with a former boyfriend, which I participated in most of those conversations in a unique kind of way. She's pretty happy. It's the person that has to watch it and that has to deal with, when, certain things happen. Like Mom was in her incontinence, and along the way mixed with the Alzheimer's, that personal dignity and pride that would say, okay, I'm not going to lay in the bed being dirty and her own defecation, those kind of things, to be candid, that never bothered her. She was okay with it. I'm the one that wasn't okay with it. And so consequently, I think that we suffered, and we have, and we will continue to suffer with those people. And the many, many, many nursing homes and Alzheimer's patients, locations, and facilities that I've visited when Mom was going through it and considering that maybe it would get too much for us, all the people I talked with and got on my knees and listened to, wherever they were happy. It was me that was not comfortable, was not there. So to answer your question, and it's probably something everyone's come to the conclusion, we're the ones who take care of them. We're the ones that suffer, and I think that's the decision. That's it. To say we accept the burden, but we don't see coming, is how when we look at that person, our loved one, our moms and our dads and other people, it hurts to see them. But wherever they are, they're okay. They're okay.
Yep. Now, Pam is just noting in our chat box, she says, men are just as diligent and just as dedicated family caregivers. and that basically caregiving is still, family caregiving remains the backbone of long-term care regardless of gender. And she says, who cares if one's from Venus or one's from Mars? It really doesn't make any difference, which is very, very true. And I think it's interesting. I'm going to pull Harry into the conversation. Harry Urban actually is diagnosed with dementia, and get his thoughts on your answer to, who suffers the most. Harry, any thoughts on Stephen's comments on who suffers the most with this disease?
I have to agree with him 100%. I think the care partner suffers more than we do, and I say that way because I just wrote something about that the other day. About I was having a very difficult time, and everybody around me was really concerned about me, but I wasn't in pain or anything like that. And they were concerned about me more than I was. And we don't see a lot of the changes that we go through, but they do. Mm-hmm. They get embarrassed by the things that we can no longer do, and to us it doesn't matter. So I think the care partner definitely suffers more than what we do. Now, I'm not taking away from anything that we go through because we have a horrible life. But you know what? We learn to deal with it, and you get to a point where it just doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter to us. It doesn't matter to me if I'm wearing shorts and there's a foot and a half of snow outside. As long as I'm not going outside, it doesn't matter. Things like that. Now, a lot of time the care partner will, oh my goodness, you can't wear that shirt with those slacks. Well, yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
It doesn't matter to me. They fit. But, that's my thoughts.
Okay. Well, great. Stephen, do you have any comments as far as what Harry's comments were at all?
I enjoyed Harry's words. It brings to mind some things that we did, I put in the book and the chapter about the red shoes. And my mother was rather fanatical about what she wore and about what she looked like. Never would leave home without makeup. And so, along the way I learned to do her makeup and other things. But, later in the last 3 years or 4 years of her life, there were things that she insisted on wearing. And although it was totally incongruous with what I had come to know with her growing up and all that, it was something where you just leave with love and, okay, Mom, if it's okay with you, it's all right with me. And again, it's when I took Mom to the doctors or wherever we went, and she was dressed in some rather avant-garde manner, as long as she was okay, as long as she felt good about herself, that was okay with me.
Yeah, and that's a real important factor. I know I ran across that with friends of mine, and some of you on the show have probably heard this story, but I had my mom videotape for some music therapy, and I was all really excited, and I was meeting with a friend of my mother's who hadn't seen my mom in 10 years because she couldn't go to the nursing home to see her, but she always wanted updates. And so, anyways, I slid this DVD across the table, and there was this picture of my mom, and she just screamed out in shock. She's a 70-year-old woman in the middle of a restaurant, and she just said, "Oh, she looks horrible." Because my mom used to be an Avon lady, and so she did the makeup and the jewelries, and she was a salesperson and always liked to present herself well. And here her hair didn't look like it used to, and her teeth had decayed and stuff, and she said, I thought you were taking good care of your mom, and she just kind of scolded me. And I said, it's not about your comforts. It's about my mother's.
There you go.
And my mom doesn't like a toothbrush anymore. It scares her, it frightens her, it causes her pain. And it can wreck her whole day. And she can't sit to get a perm done, and her hair is thinned, and it really isn't good to have the chemicals in her hair anymore. We kind of went through the whole thing, and it really is about their comfort, not ours. And we have to change our opinion. There's a lot of people that look really good that aren't doing well, and and so
Amen.
why would we continue that? I think it's a very important role that we have to take and look very seriously at what is their comfort level, because to me that's the gift of the ability to care, is to do it on their level and to meet their needs. Can you tell us about maybe a chapter in your book? One of the chapters that I thought was kind of cute, and if you wouldn't mind describing this for people and telling us kind of what your note was at the end. You kind of give son's rule at the end, but it was Sherby needs you. Do you mind sharing that story a little bit with people?
There's, as with every family, and someone who's dealing with this disease, there's a lot of characters. Everyone's affected in some way. You just can't walk through it like it doesn't exist. And my mother, during the early stages of her dementia, began to befriend her cat, which was an old cat to begin with. And she talked to the cat. She heard the cat speaking with her all the time. The cat would take its meals with him. And the anecdote that I did put in the book was that, without getting into too much detail about the event, but one of the things that I do professionally is run a program for Black and Latino young men at a local university. And I often say to them, in fact daily, when we're together throughout most of the summer, is that your cell phones are off when you come in to my classroom. And I'm a fanatic about it. If the cell phone goes off, I take the cell phone, and sometimes I don't give it back for a while. So what occurred was, on that day, and again, to really paint the picture, the cell phone really is a distraction for a lot of things, anticipating that something will be text or something will. So anyway, it was part of the greater lesson. So what occurred was that I had never had a cell phone before I brought Mom into our care for her. And I always kept it buried deep in my rather large leather briefcase, and I usually kept it tucked into a small area on the outside reaches of the tiered lecture hall. In any event, on this given day, the cell phone goes off, and the only person that would have called me was my mom. And of course, all the guys were snickering, and the especially the front 40 of them, because I have a lot of young men in that thing. But they're all looking at me. Well, hey, Dr. Hoag here. Yeah, look, a big guy with don't know cell phone. And so I went and grabbed the cell phone, whatever, and I went out in the hallway and the whole thing, and I assumed it was Mom, and I said to Mom, "This is you there?" And she goes, "Yes." And she says, "You have to come here right now. Sherby needs you." And I said, "Mom, I'm in the middle of class, Mom. Now, you have to understand, as a backdrop, Mom never approved of my career as an educator. She had a whole different plan for me, which is a whole different part of the story. But in any event, that I said, well, why does, I'm going to cut out the rest of the stuff and just get to the end. And I said, Mom, what's wrong with Sherby? And she said, well, she has, she won't go to the bathroom. And she got into this whole thing. I said, Mom, I really can't stay on the line. And I made short of the conversation. I said, Mom, as soon as I get out of class, I'll be right with you. She calls back not 5 minutes later. Of course, by this time I had lost my young men, who were just hysterical with the cell phone, and my assistants who were mentors who were in the room. And I said, Mom, what exactly seems to be wrong with the cat? Now I'm losing my patience. And I had, a number of things. The patience meter was always going off on me. How much patience do I have left for this particular event? And she went on to say that she has communicated with the cat, that she talked with him, and needs to go to the vet, and there's something very wrong with it. I know it. You have to get her. This is an emergency. And then of course, she was threatening to call 911, as she often did, or call the police, which she's done that too. So it was not to recall exactly word for word, but each one of the chapters in the book was really a synthesis of each day when I wrote in a journal, and there was over 5,000 pages when Mom died. But it was what the lesson was learned every day, and I didn't do that for any kind of medicinal thing. It was really because I wanted to be a better son. I knew that I wasn't good enough to handle what I was going through with her. I don't know that I could have worked any harder, but you always want to be better, and you always want to think you're learning something. So at the end of every chapter, I would put in, just a little reminder at the end of every day of what I can do better and what I did well, and it was part of what we've wove into the book at every chapter of the important thing that a son must know, and this is the lesson learned. In this particular event with Sherby, the cat, whatever, it's that, sometimes, and again, not that I'm quoting it word for word, but each time when, you think you got it all pegged and you've learned the lesson, something else crops up, and it happens to be a cat now is my problem. So, and I remember anecdotally when I did get there and see the cat, check the cat box to see if anything had happened, and the cat was sitting on the kitchen table with Mom, eating her food, and I picked up the cat, put him in the cat box, and the whole thing. The cat, which was 14 years old at that time, ran right up. Jumped right back up on the table, put its foot in Mom's milk from her cereal, and went right on, and Mom never even noticed. Mm-hmm. It was just, the whole day was just, the cat now was center stage, and I never did explain successfully to my class that day what it was, but, I said some things just supersede all the distractions in the world, and unfortunately the cat was my distraction that day.
Yep. Yep. Well, I just thought it was just a cute little story, and were you surprised through all your writings, all of the lessons that you learned through this disease?
Oh, without a doubt. Lori, and I'll bare my soul here on this thing. I work fairly hard at most everything I do. My wife would call me excessive in everything, whether it's wrapping a Christmas gift in the extreme, or it was working with my daughters as they went through school and whatever. I was an extremist, and I couldn't. This didn't fit the character. I couldn't. Mm-hmm. I couldn't do that as well as I wanted. So every day I was searching for what can I do that's better. When there was the late night, I'm a fairly routine person like most people are, but you go to sleep at a certain time, you eat at a certain time, and the years with Mom, it killed the routines. There wasn't any more. So, mm-hmm. You were sleeping less, you were eating less, and you're trying to, just kind of game it out in your head and saying, okay, what do we do better? But I think the main thing was to go back to something you mentioned earlier. The thing that after the first few years that was woven into every end of day's prayer and every day's lesson was, okay, how did I lead with love today? How did I bring love to bear today? Okay, when Mom was asking me to, which I did many times, you've read the book, to sing at the local grocery store, because that's how she brought me up, and when I was in the frozen food aisles, singing, these jazz classics a cappella, and she's thinking that, the the jazz group is behind me, and people are out there applauding when all there's there is like 5 or 6 couples walking by thinking I'm nuts. So, it was those things that would have bothered me. One of the lessons was because of the love part of it. It was okay. I felt all right about it. It didn't matter what people thought. It mattered more that Mom at that moment in time was happy. Now, parenthetically, she didn't remember one of those events to the other. If I ever went back and said, Mom, I sang here last week. No, you didn't. No, you were someplace else. I don't remember that. You haven't done it in a long time. And again, I would sing to her every night. Just about every night. I would sing in her bedroom, although she wouldn't remember it, but it was okay. But it took a long while to learn those lessons. So, yeah, I was pretty surprised. I was surprised at a lot of things that I did, and I think you and other many, many, many thousands of people are surprised at what you did. You didn't plan it. It's just something that you needed to do, and it's like I would just tell this one other story. I was at a home for Alzheimer's patients, and some with some pretty severe cases or levels of dementia, and there was a woman who made no sense in terms of language at that point. She cried, she laughed, she was in a wheelchair. She was 87 years old at the time, and I ended up kneeling in front of her and just listening, and she would touch my face and my hair and the whole thing, and I wanted to do something. I wanted to make her feel better. This was all new to me. I ended up going back there a few times. And every single time I felt a little bit better because whatever she did to manipulate my face, touch my hair, touch my lips, or, try to communicate in some way, it probably, and I would like to feel it made her feel better. And I learned that lesson that, it's not something as a parent, you never want to say yes all the time, but it was something as a son I got used to saying yes to. I got used to yes to saying everything. I said yes to everything, and I did it. And you know what? It was okay. I didn't spoil the child. I didn't spoil Mom. I just said yes because she didn't remember from one day to the next.
Well, that's it's just nice, and it's refreshing to hear the amount of love that you had, for your mother, and stepping up to the plate. And we don't always hear these positive stories all the time, and it's refreshing. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. Can you tell us? One of your phrases is to check your pragmatic self at the door. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's. I think as we go from childhood to adulthood, there are certain things that we become as adults. There's certain levels of pride, of personal dignity, of things you say, things you don't say. Everyone's got their own level of how far you can push it, and we live in a society where people get overly sensitive to things that are said. And I think the thing is with my mom, and forgive me for getting a little emotional about it, because when I talk about her, oftentimes it brings back some of the best of me. But she was an extremely private woman. She was extremely talented. Had, she, back in her youth, she was performing with the big bands. She performed with the Dorsey Band. She just, just one of those wonderful things about her. And that's the mom I knew, the one that would double lock the bathroom, someone that would always ask every one of us when I was growing up to all go downstairs when she used the bathroom. It was always very private. She dressed in private. She did so many things. I never heard Mom utter a 4-letter word, not in the most difficult of crises when I was a child, ever. She never raised a hand to me when I was a kid growing up. And what had happened was when Mom became mine again, to take care of, that all of that went out the window. I mean, that was the Mom I knew. And I think the thing is that my own logic and pragmatism, which is what you feel is a good conduct. It didn't matter anymore. Mom was going to do what she wanted to do, say what she wanted to say, who she wanted to say it to at any given time. And, we spent a lot of time together. And when I would take her to places and doctors and different places, whatever, I could expect anything from her. And she delivered. And it was extremely difficult. And the first 2 years, I had a hard time with it. I had a hard time. I mean, I tried the logic with her and say, Mom, you just can't say those kinds of things. I will give you the perfect anecdote, is that I took her to a doctor's office where she was getting a shot, a B12 shot or whatever at the time, and there was a rather large woman who was sitting across from her. And Mom didn't there was no warming up in the bullpen. And Mom looked right at her and made a comment like, have you always been this big, or do you just eat too much? Yeah, and a lot of that's in the book. I mean, she just didn't, and I'm like aghast. It's like I couldn't get my hand on her face fast enough, which I didn't. But it was how it was if she, if we were shopping together, in the food store or whatever, and she saw someone who looked different, she didn't make any bones about it, about saying something. She would say things about me. One of the things that's articulated probably too much in the book is another character in this book, he was a pretty important part of it, was my older brother, Tom, who's retarded. Mm-hmm. And he grew up at a time when you didn't, if you were a special ed student, they asked you to leave school as soon as you became about 10, 11 years old. So Mom brought him up. Mom taught him to read, to write, to do math, do a lot of things. A remarkable relationship, which adds to the dynamic of what happened and why I made the decisions I did. But to make him feel, and he was a good-looking guy. He is a good-looking guy. She would always tell him how handsome he is. And in contrast, for whatever reason, she would always say, Stevie, you shouldn't feel bad. You're homely, but you'll have other things you'll do good. And so the homely thing she used to say to me as a kid growing up all the time, always. Never, and it was always because my brother was handsome and my other son is homely. But, it wasn't anything she said in public. But when I started taking care of her, we'd go to, the food store, and she'd talk to anybody, literally anybody, and think she knew him. And she would say to him, Martha, just want to say hello. It's good to see you. You look well. How's your uncle? All this stuff is coming out of left field. And then the woman said one day, and it happened more than a few times, and who's this? Just to kind of break the line of the conversation. And, and Mom would say, quote, this is my other son. My good-looking son is home. This is Stevie. I know he's homely, but, he finds ways. He finds ways to get over it. And this stuff was coming. I mean, and so there was times when it first started happening, it really bothered me. I think it would have bothered anybody. But after that, I just smiled. I said, yep, I'm the homely one. I'm looking for that good vacation with the rest of the homely people in the world. So so I just went along with it, and I think that when I say leave your logic at the door, your pragmatism at the door, if you think that you're going to talk him out of anything, whether it's like what Harry suggested and things he likes to wear, or my mom, or things that it's not going to happen. So the thing is just to minimize the damage, love them up like crazy, and realize that wherever they are at that moment, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. They're all right.
Harry, any comments you want to add after hearing Dr. Hoag talk?
Oh, yeah. One of the things I was taught all through my childhood and growing up is when you enter a house, you take your hat off. Well, I can never understand that, because if I'm sitting out on my deck and I'm reading a book I can wear a hat. But as soon as I come inside the house, I have to take my hat off. Well, I don't do that anymore. I mean, I could be sitting in my living room with my feet up and I got my hat on. You know, things like that, and it's you just got to go with the flow. You know, I'm not going to change. You're not going to change me. You know, who knows? You might look at me in church and I'm wearing a hat. You know, just I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not doing that. I'm just being me.
God bless you.
Which is important. We want to allow everyone to be able to be themselves. That's for sure. That is for sure. So, well, we are going to need to wrap up the show here. I can't believe we only have about 10 minutes left. So, can you tell us about Sing Stevie Sing? What that's all about?
Yeah, I'll do it briefly, Lori, and thank you for the question. It's one of the more sensitive things in the book. Mom brought me up to really cut to the chase, to be a performer. From my earliest recollections in life, we lived in a very small little place, but there was a little hardwood floor, and because of her background and my dad's background, he was another talented individual. She wanted me to be a performer. She wanted me to be on the stage. She wanted me to sing. So when I got home from school, even before I started school, that she would teach me every vestige of performance, where my hands go, how do I look at an audience, how do I sing, how do I deliver a song. And, I always enjoyed doing it because Mom, it made her happy. If there was company that ever came over, just the next door neighbor, it would always be, Stevie, sing the song, sing this song, sing that song. If I walked with her down the middle of town and we were, waiting to be waited on at the bank or something or whatever it happened to be, she'd ask me to sing there. And so it was a common occurrence. When, and again, I didn't follow that path. Now, people can argue, that I did in some way, but this was part of my upbringing with Mom and what she loved me to be. When Mom became my responsibility, it started relatively early in my care of her, and she would ask me to sing. And I found that it brought her great joy. Now, I hadn't done that in years, but I was singing the same song she taught me when I was 9, 10 years old. I was, and she remembered it. So it flickered. Everywhere we went, everywhere that I went, it was Stevie Sing. And sometimes she would hallucinate with people who were there and said, "Oh, they've all come to hear you sing." It was, although I never ever, after I got to college, thought of ever singing in public again. I did in college, but that was it. And I did a few other times. But the point was that when Mom became mine, what she taught me when I was a little boy, that's what I used to make her happy. It's an amazing thing, amazing circle. But, I remembered every word and lyric and every tune that she taught me. One of her favorites was, Minnie the Mermaid, which don't ask me to sing it. But it no matter what, but the thing that was interesting is that at the end, when we got right to the end, and again, I won't ruin the end of the book because it was pretty special, and if you read it, I think you understand. But one of the last things that she said to me, because she didn't know me at the end, the last year and a half, she didn't know who I was at all. There was no name, there was no face recognition whatsoever, and I would lie to myself and say that she did, but she didn't. But at the end, near that last time, I never asked her. She didn't have to ask me anymore. I just sang to her. I sang to her, and so it's something that I realized that the things that she taught me as a child came back full circle to let me give her some pleasure and stuff in those last 10, 11, 12 years of her life. They were, even though I never made Broadway, and I disappointed her greatly, as I speak about in the book, and she was quick to tell me, that I could have been somebody. It was special to me in the last night of her life. I got in front of her bed and I did 3 songs right in a row, even though she didn't know who I was. That's really the thing, Stevie Sing thing.
And it's so beautiful, the simplicity that really it takes to make somebody with dementia happy. I mean, it's just, we look at all these big fancy, rah-rah type things, and life's not about that. When we really want to connect, we go back to the basics. And they're just so beautiful and so powerful. Harry, anything you want to add to that story that comes to mind for you?
No, that's my life, Lori. It's I got to read the book.
Well, good.
I hope you enjoy it, Harry.
I think I know I will. I know I will.
Yeah, it's well done. It's an easy read, and I love the son's rules that you have in the book. I think people will find it very helpful and very, very soothing. And with most books written on dementia, you're going to laugh and you're going to cry during things because it's going to trigger stuff. Everybody's story triggers something within us, is what I have found when we're on this journey. None of us are doing this alone.
Amen.
At all. So, in the back too, you have some photos of your mom and stuff, which is it's just kind of fun to be able to see, and be able to put a face to the stories in here. So I appreciate your time and your effort and your work in terms of writing a book, because it's never easy. Now, your book is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and also on Inspiring Voices. So it's very accessible. Again, the title is A Son's Handbook, written by Stephen W. Hoag. That's Hoag. And the subtitle is Bringing Up Mom with Alzheimer's / Dementia. I think it's a great read. You also have a Facebook page with just your personal name. If people want to go ahead and put in Stephen W. Hoag, they can connect with you that way.
Sure.
Any other contact information that you want to give out to people, or
no? I will just, Lori, you've been very, very kind to me to invite me to speak on your show. I would say this, that since, not because of the book, but even before the book, by the urgent, the really insistence of my family, that if there's anything I can ever do to assist some organization, whatever, no matter where it is in the country, that don't hesitate to ask if there's something in some small way I can do. I would hope that I can entertain and enlighten at the same time as Mom would have wanted me to. So I hope anybody that's listening enjoys the book, and if you'd ever like it autographed or signed, whatever, it would be a privilege to do so.
Mm-hmm. Elva has a question for you, and
sure.
She says, "Is Dr. Hoag Jewish?" She says, "I've always wanted to marry a Jewish man because of the way their mothers reared them. Was to
Are you
respect
proposing to
women."
me, dear? Is this a proposal of marriage on the radio? My Lord.
She said he sounds Jewish to me just because of the way he cared for his mother and stuff. So I thought that was kind of a cute comment.
Yeah, it's she. To be candid, yes, I was raised. My mom was Jewish, my dad was Catholic, and yeah, you nailed it. That's how she raised me. Now, it is not my religion, but that's how she raised me. You were exactly right.
Wow. Well, that's wonderful. Well, again, I thank you so much for joining us today and for writing your book and telling your story and sharing your insights. I think it's going to help an awful lot of people. So have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I'm sure we'll be in touch in the future.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it, Lori. God bless you and all your listeners. Take care.
Okay. Thank you. In wrapping up here again, I just want to remind people about the Alzheimer's Music Festival at the 120 Tavern in Marietta, Georgia, this Saturday from 12 to 10 p.m. If you're going to be there, or if you're going to be in the area, swing by. I'll be there, I think, all day is my plan, anyways, for that. Again, I want to give a couple of reminders. We've got Dementia Chats today at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and that's free. Come on in, and we'll continue the conversation on a webinar platform. And then tonight, the Wisdom Journey: Discover Your New Partner or Power of Discover the New Power of Elder Circles, which is a free webinar through the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation. I think I'm going to join that conversation too. So have a wonderful day. Bye now.
It's time to rethink, renew, and reimagine retirement. Hey everybody, Jared Sylvester here, host of Retire Repurposed. Now, this podcast is about the non-financial parts of retirement, which many times can be even more challenging than the financial. We believe retirement is not the end, rather the beginning of what could be the most impactful, purposeful, and fulfilling season of a person's life. So don't retire, become repurposed. To listen now, search Retire Repurposed on your favorite podcast platform, Senior Resource, or Life Audio.